Good evening, you're watching News Mongolia on MNB World. I'm your host, Tanrgan Batar. In 4 top stories, United Nations Development Program organized rolling out integrated sustainable development goal financing in Mongolia workshop at Tuushin Hotel. Export and production of thermal treated meat and meat products suspended. 207 board members of Erdenes Mongol will be reduced down to 27. And for the news, stay tuned. Mongolia was one of the first countries to adopt a national development strategy aligned with sustainable development goals. United Nations agencies are working with the government of Mongolia to develop an integrated financing system and strategy for national and international sustainable development goals. The main activities in this area and their significance were discussed in detail at the comprehensive workshop at the Tuushin Hotel on June 9th. For many developing countries, including Mongolia, financing its national development priorities and sustainable development goals remain a key challenge. To discuss possible solutions and international best practices, the government of Mongolia, led by the Ministry of Finance, and the United Nations agencies, led by the UNDP and UNICEF, co-organized Financing the Future We Want, rolling out integrated SDG financing in Mongolia workshop with representatives from the public and private sector, international financial institutions, donors, civil society organizations, and investors. Mr. Tapan Mishra, the United Nations resident coordinator in Mongolia, Ms. Axel Nikes, Ambassador of the European Union to Mongolia, and Deputy Minister of Finance, Ms. Mungun Chimiksanja, gave their opening remarks.
Today's workshop brings together the work that has been done globally and locally by the United Nations, led by UNDP, and with support from UNICEF and other agencies together, to really work on how Mongolia can achieve the Sustainable Development Goals 2030 by the next 7.5 years that we have ahead of us, out of the 15 years, almost half of it. And we have slipped in the last 2 years because of the COVID impact. How can we really make sure that the gap that is there, the funding gap to achieve the implementation of the SDGs, can be financed in a very comprehensive and integrated manner, leveraging internal resources, leveraging the private sector engagement, leveraging other possible investment routes, including innovative finances, to be able to achieve the goals. Because without financing, it is impossible to achieve the goals, because if you cannot invest in the right direction, you cannot achieve the targets that you are achieving. So today's workshop is bringing together all the strategies that have been developed for Mongolia with the leadership of the Ministry of Finance, along with UNDP and UNICEF on the child budgeting and other UN agencies. This is a joint UN project under the UN SDG Joint Fund, and I personally, with the Minister of Finance, we co-chair the steering board, and I'm very happy that we have come to a position where we can really now offer a comprehensive strategy to the government of Mongolia. My plea to the government of Mongolia is to be able to look at this very carefully now.
So today is an important event. We are definitely here to support what we call an integrated national financial framework, what is actually aimed at helping Mongolia to reach its very ambitious objectives. Vision 2050, as we know, but also the Paris Agenda and the Sustainable Development Goals by 2030. At the moment, it's estimated that there is a need to further increase the effort on financing to these global objectives, and it represents 18%, 1/8 of the GDP of Mongolia. So this is a big effort, of course, for Mongolia to do, and that is why we are supporting through an effective, more innovative system of finances. In terms of concrete projects, we have at the moment relatively substantial budget support, up to 50 million euro that is directly injected to the Ministry of Finance, with a number of benchmarks regarding labor law, governance, transparency, fight against corruption. And we have another project together with the World Bank to work more on public finance management, on collection, on transparency, on the illegal financing. So we are working hand in hand both by the UNDP and with the World Bank on those both issues.
According to the government of Mongolia, a total of 100 to 120 trillion MNT is needed to achieve the new recovery policy 2021-2030, highlighting the urgent need for additional financing resources for the country.
As public financing alone is not enough to finance our development priorities, the government, the private sector, investors, and development partners need to align their policies, activities, and financial resources with national and global development priorities, increase their financial resources, and improve the efficiency and value of the investment through the implementation of public finance reform.
The workshop featured presentation on multiple milestones, including a successful piloting of this result-based and SDG-aligned budgeting at 4 ministries, SDG auditing pilot at the Mongolian National Audit Office, publishing of the sustainability reporting guidance for private sector, ongoing development of draft SDG finance taxonomy, SDG investor mapping, SDG bond feasibility and framework study, and debt for nature swap study with the support of UNDP and other development partners. The regular cabinet meeting was held this Wednesday on June 8th, and the following issues were discussed and resolved. Notably, production and export of thermal-treated meat and meat products has been suspended.
Deputy Prime Minister Amar Sakhan introduced the presentation of the working group responsible for managing and inspecting the production, supply and export of meat and meat products and developing proposals for further improvement of the control system. In order to eliminate the violations and shortcomings identified during the inspection and to meet the food quality and safety requirements and standards, the production and export of thermally processed meat and meat products has been suspended until the end of this year. In addition, the head of the General Agency for Specialized Inspection, Basundorj, was instructed to strengthen inspections on the operation of slaughterhouses and meat processing plants and to revoke the permits of businesses with violations. He was also instructed to improve the analysis capacity of state-owned laboratories to study and introduce a unified system and to hold guilty officials accountable under the law. At the regular cabinet meeting, measures to reorganize Erdenes Mongol LLC were discussed. Prime Minister Erdogan instructed to reduce the company's board members as part of budget-saving measures. Erdenes Mongol is the main implementing group of the National Wealth Fund law. It can be understood that Erdenes Mongol is becoming a national wealth fund. The board of directors of the subsidiaries has a total of more than 200 members, all of whom are heads of government agencies and divisions as reported by the Minister of Mining and Heavy Industry, Yeondong. According to the law on the National Wealth Fund, Erdenes Mongol operates as a group, similar to the operating style of the world's best mining corporations. For example, Erdenes Mongol includes Erdenes Town Talga, Erdent Mining, and Mongol Rostvetmet. As a result, large state-owned mining companies have merged into holding companies. The companies are divided into two groups, Copper Metal Group and the Coal and Energy Group. These allow the two groups to be chaired by two boards. 207 board members will be reduced to 27 members in order to save costs and operate in a coordinated and unified manner.
Now let's take a look at the currency exchange rates provided by Mongol Bank. Now let's take a look at our regular feature on sports. The Asian Football Confederation Asian Cup Group B qualifiers kicked off yesterday in Ulaanbaatar City. Mongolia, ranked 186 in the world in Group B of the preliminary round, lost its first match to Palestine, ranked 100th in the world. The Palestinians won the first game in the 85th minute with a penalty kick. In fact, the ball hit by the Palestinian player hit the shoulder of our defender Mongol, but the head referee of the field considered that it was touched and gave a penalty kick to the opposing team. Thus, Odey Dabah successfully executed his shot, bringing the team 3 points. Tsindayush Balchinyam and 4 defenders of the Mongolian national team played well. However, Namsra and Gambayr played in the attack, but they did not manage to make any dangerous attack. The team defended very well for 80 minutes, but lost 5 minutes before the end of the game, conceding a goal from a penalty kick. Despite playing very well against a distant country in the standings, the Palestinians had more possession and attack throughout the game. The other teams in the group, the Philippines and Yemen, drew 0-0. The Mongolian national team will play its next match against the Philippines on June 11th at 12:30, while Palestine will play against Yemen at 5 p.m. on the same day. Here's the weather forecast of world's major cities. Well, that's all for today, and thank you for staying with us. We will see you tomorrow with more news and updates. Have a nice evening. Goodbye.